having a slow start, like he mentioned, on attack, which could cost them the game later on. They're starting on defense, and that gives them also their first attack and opportunity for a ban.
It makes so much more sense for them. Well, I say less sense, but more... There's confidence, because it's that decision that wouldn't have been theirs. Cowana want to lead into the attack. I guess this goes back to the fact that this was, as we said, an attacker-sided map. Generally, this is one that attack likes to lean in quite well. And if you can sort of either cement that mold or break that mold, is how you define yourself in a game. Flores, a very fair removal on this map.
Yeah, I think Secret definitely struggled against the Flores of Vitality, and more specifically of P4. And especially on this map, when you're trying to hold on to something like Bar and you have the shield on top blue, it's really easy to get rid of that with a Flores RC Retiro charge instead of having to toss multiple nades and flashes and everything in there to get rid of ADSs and eventually a shield there. So an interesting pick, but definitely understandable. And Thatcher and Velk, wow, very surprising.
I know, never before seen.
Ooh,
Echo. Okay. I get it and I appreciate it, because some days when you're looking at this, they have talented Echo players. Kendrew is a great Echo player that we've seen not only have these big clutch moments, but demonstrate sort of ways to play the operator. There's highlight clips of him. But if you're having a bad day against a team that's playing well on that sort of operator, get rid of them. Take it out of the game, because it becomes an easier question to answer of how do we deal with this, but you don't have the added weight of this cost us rounds earlier on today.
Yeah, exactly, though. Secret starts on their defense, so they don't have to use an Echo whatsoever. However, this time, once again, the mirror is open and will also be used in this game. Comfy opts for the 6th pick of the Clash into the Frost, and I think this is kind of a bait maybe coming out from Cowana, because they picked a Ying to begin with, so it kind of shows like, hey, we might rush. Interesting thing is, if you would rush, you would probably 6-pick it, but, well, they showed it, and maybe the players of Secret got a little bit scared that they don't have the Clash, but they do have a Frost, a really good operator to 6-pick, because if you don't spot the Frost or the Frost Mets in the prep phase, you might find yourself with your angle stuck in a Frost Met later on into the round, so I think Frost, especially on this map for a lot of sites, is a really fun operator.
Setting themselves up here for what needs to be an important first half. And, you know, as we've sort of said, you're generally seeing teams pull 2 of their defenses here. But if Secret don't find some handle on the momentum of Cowana, they might find themselves answering bigger questions on their turn to attack. A full stretch, a reset, and a wipe down of the whiteboard to see what else you can write on it, and hopefully the word victory, as you build yourself closer here on the ski slopes of Chalet, that I'm sure Milosh would tell me exactly where it is. I think it's somewhere in France.
Chalet?
I think.
Really?
Milosh is sat at home swirling whiskey, saying, no, none.
He's disappointed.
He knows all of that stuff. I'm really bad at knowing lore.
Yeah.
I was like, that sort of lore.
I don't know this either.
Did you know Pulse and Habana have a baby?
They have a relationship?
No, in Extraction.
Oh, really?
It's confirmed that they have a little daughter.
Oh.
I think that's set in the future list. They don't at this point. So them getting involved in engagements, don't worry.
Yeah, you will find them shooting at each other at some point, but they do actually have a relationship as well.
Yeah.
All right, we see Benja rappelling onto the library windows now, holding a very, very small angle to any of the players of Secret, maybe aggressing into that library, but that isn't happening yet. It seems that the players aren't even close to that library whatsoever. We even saw a mirror window all the way downstairs around kitchen. Could potentially stop any of the players of Cowana coming in to go for a grenade from underneath, but Packpool's already getting pressured and getting shot a little bit as well. It's however Slebin to find the opening kill onto Sloth, one of the very important factors on the side of Cowana. Immediately stop it down in this first round.
Important removal of a player and a presence that was beyond anyone else's in the previous map. I can't really do maths, I was never taught at school, but if you were to add up all of the Secret kills, it might have been close to the performance that Sloth put in. So if they can keep a sort of mantle of pressure onto that player, they might be able to try and find some of the cracks in the Cowana approach that was otherwise not as multifaceted as it's previously been. Here, Anarchic's going to see if they can knock on the door with a balcony, popping it open, but there is Sleben with the drop there onto Grizzly instead. They tried to shoot it and go for a quick swing, and Secret this time, they're not playing around.
No, exactly. It's only Keenan and Packbull to have taken a little bit of damage. Keenan significantly more than Packbull though, but still all remaining players on the side of Secret finds a kill onto Gorgona as well. So 2 more players on the side of Cowana. We're looking at 3 flashbang steals and 2 grenades, but there isn't really a lot to find any grounding on the map. They're both stood outside a window and a door, looking to find an easy pick by any of the defenders going aggressive, but that isn't happening so far. Secret's playing it very passive, but in a good way as well, because they're just waiting for these last 2 remaining players to jump in. That's how Keenan finds the kill onto Benja, leaving an Arctic in a 1v5 situation. He will need to ace clutch to get the win here, but with 15 seconds left on the board, diffuser in hand, all the way on the other side of the map, I don't think that's going to happen.
I would be amazed, I would be surprised, and I would probably assume that something else entirely had gone on, but no. Anarchic is not able to cement this first round. Doesn't hand them the flawless, but it may as well be because they mopped the floor with that approach. Secret have that opener. They have the response that they so desperately needed to sort of say, okay, we're still in the showdown. It's the first of this second map, but to be able to put a full stop on the performance of the first map where they lost so succinctly, it's just a very needed reprieve, a breath of fresh air to now build behind. Bar is where we're going to head on to next, and obviously they want to try and continue and keep the trend of capping the approach of Cowana.
And we talked about what Secret needs to do to have a better game against Cowana. Well, maybe the answer to that is just make sure you kill Sloth and as soon as possible into the round.
It works. It sure helps. He was, as we said, a tour de force in the opener, and they're not being able to get in. The longer they can sort of keep him at bay, if he's on a bit of a tear, the better. And maybe if they can do it long enough, they might be able to, again, not just reset their mentality, but reset his and put him in a worse situation than dropping another 19-4.
Yeah, if you can't really find your footing into the game yet and you struggle to get a kill on the board as that entry fragger, as someone who's just had a 19-4, that obviously does things to your mental too, but this is another chance for Sloth to actually get a kill, and this time the players of Secret are prepping themselves for a bar hold. And quite a standard bar hold we're seeing coming out from them so far. There's a shield on top of the lobby, long hallway, and they're trying to hold onto that for as long as possible. Another shield on top of blue. This is where the Killer's ban is a very interesting one, because that won't make it as easy to get rid of those shields on the top floor. Because the average spot is in Scottish shock tone all the way into the top floor. It gets rid of one of those shields. That is a Vulcan shield, so if anyone steps into that fire there, they'll take a little bit of damage. Keenan stays away from it wisely, but is aware of a player potentially around that main door.
Oh, there's a bit of a quick removal there as Benja is able to hold on to the flank. And Keenan's in a bit of a tricky situation here because they're a bit of a lifeline onto the site itself. As I said, it's not really one where you instantly burst through regardless of how immediate you can be on the double window, because there's so much of this groundwork to do above. The hold here of Keenan across the top with the split bit that's otherwise being done with some success of Sleben, just able to take care of some of those ex-Kairos. Those two sort of need each other. It's this succinct relationship of two big power positions that have one weakness, and that's if the other one dies. Keenan's able to slip away and just has a bit of cover, but what you'll find is, well, they'll have to play the shield a little bit more reserved than before.
Yeah, Packbull finds himself downstairs, just holding on to the longer line society has towards that bar window, and Grizzly was quickly teasing right around the bar double window. Not really jumping in just yet, but 2 players on top of the blue stairs. Seems like they've lost control over that top floor just a little bit. As Jonas now already into the library box, got rid of the ADS, and shut down the default cam. That's the second shield on top of that blue stairs now gone too. And that means that they completely need to forfeit their top floor control. Kentry, however, finds himself in an interesting spot downstairs around the main door. The attackers aren't aware of his positioning, he might get a easy kill, or maybe even 2.
He's once again playing the game of I'm going to hide in the corner and hope I don't get droned out, and he's lost that game before. This time it's in a slightly different situation. He's waiting for an approach potentially on the double door, but as we pass this minute marker and the Bucks doing some business work above, it gives Cowana a moment to try and drop down. Sleben somehow survives. It's Kendry that actually gets caught in the trade with Keenan getting one of his own, but Keenan finds a second before there's actually finally the end of them. Keenan, he's still alive, and he's still this pressure possibility as he creeps his way up to the top. He wants to see if he can strike on the opposite side. If he can find one more player, they have 2 up there and one on the double window where they're going to try and put their plant on. 30 seconds mean they can apply a little bit more pressure, but there it is. Packball on the far side, the smokes come through, the drop and the pre-fire. Keenan almost gets caught from the hatch. It's an Arctic that's next. It's Packball that puts all the pressure down onto the backside. Gogona, he's in the supply room and the side slide of the bar stock, but he can't quite get this little sneaky approach he wants. The flashes, he knows there's an engagement whichever way he goes. And Keenan and Packball keep it locked for Secret.
And that would have been an impossible path to cross because there were lines aside onto those openings towards the supply room. Basically no real way where the last player of cowana could go. It looked quite solid for them in the beginning or maybe the middle part of this round. They even got the opening pick on their player being totally unaware of Benja being outside of that display window. So they got the opening pick, managed to take that top 4 control quite quickly, get rid of all the utility, all the shields and everything above. Unfortunately, it was Secret to show just enough aggression as they should have done to win this round, because that peek from the Frost right onto the bar window, you could argue that it's not necessarily needed, but it did help them to get back to an even scoreline when it comes to operators. So with 3-3, then it got more into their favor, and in the end it was just a time that was really in the side of cowana, and then having to cross somewhere where obviously people are holding, that doesn't really work either.
Okay, let me go back to my little checklist of things Secret need to do for success. The first one was ticked, which was be able to take that round well, the opener round. The second one is be able to take a pressure situation well, which we saw them lose a couple of times on Bank, where it was 15 seconds, and cowana didn't have much. They'd done some work, but didn't have themselves with boots on the side, pushed it and took it twice. They're able to lock that off, and here, for the first time in this showdown, we see Secret have that response. We see Secret be able to say, no, this final 15 seconds is ours still, and we're going to make sure that we can keep that little bit of cement on, and that's another very important lesson for them to learn and push home.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing a better job so far in this game. Now let's hope they can keep it up, so we will eventually see that third map. Their third round on the defense, and they're looking to defend kitchen now. Some rotates made around the west main and around the kitchen floor too, and Slim's finding himself in an interesting position on top of the solar stairs. 3 ADS to assist him onto holding on this position for very long, because it looks like it's the main point of focus that cowana has to start their attack with. They want to take control of solar, eventually probably onto the entire top floor, and use that bug to make some lines of sight vertically. However, they will need to deal with that player on the solar stairs first, deal with all the utility they've just got to protect themselves with.
Almost caught from underneath there as Gorgona's been able to put some pressure. That is that player pretty much entirely locked in, but to be fair, treat it like blue. They have all the ADS in the world. They expect to fight, and they know they're in a powerful position. It's just seeing how long they can keep themselves locked down for. Kendrew, he's going for an adventure. He almost finds one, but the cover comes through just as it needed to. Benja is able to swing his way through, but Slevin is underneath, takes care of Gorgona. That buys some safety now for that player on the solarium stairs. Gomfi's on a bit of an explore, but he's otherwise just found nothing because all of the pressure's come onto the site. Sloth drives through, Slevin gets a double, but goes down in the exchange over that solarium side, and there it is. Dancing past the top. They need to see if they can find a place to stop and drop this diffuser, but Gomfi above is making so many problems for them. The pings, the intel, it's all into their favor. A minute 20. And now you're looking at what cowana are going to do with this intel. They know they don't have above, but they know they have the diffuser.
Exactly, and Benja's got a great position here, hiding behind the display, waiting for that last player to come down the stairs. Finds the easy shot onto Keenan. Meanwhile, on the other side, that vigil was cleared up too. So a strong attack coming out from cowana. They acknowledged like, hey, there's someone holding on to the solar stairs. This is going to be really difficult to deal with. This was our initial thing we wanted to push from, but they completely shifted their focus. They no longer went for that top 4 control, but they went for a very aggressive horizontal take. You saw players outside the windows of West Main just getting that early entry pick, and from there on it was kind of Sloth and his bodies that just stormed onto the site. They had the map control, still were concerned about the player that was above, but they managed to hold down their lines aside and covered that plant pretty well. And unfortunately for the Secret players, it was not enough for them to stop them from planting and get all the remaining kills in the round. But that was a solid attack, I'd say. It was a good adaptation coming out from cowana after they've acknowledged that that solar stairs was not going to be for them.
It's the very important part of cowana's game set as well, is they're a team that is known to be able to adapt quite quickly. If they find a problem, they don't try and hit their head against it for 2 minutes before they decide to go for a plan B. they sort of realized just how much pressure they needed to apply to those stairs. They rotated Gorgona into the position to be able to apply that, but then when Gorgona goes down, they're thinking, well, we still got to try and clear through this, but we also now know that there's less bodies onto site. Sloth suddenly just screams his way through, gets himself into the connector, gets himself onto that hallway, and takes some of this fight and aggression, which allows Anarchic to flood in via the trophy cabinets and find their way through, and allows them to pick up the diffuser that then inevitably got dropped in those big trades and engagements. That skill of cowana to go from 0 to 100 when they realize this opportunity, it's a big, big problem for teams to go up against them.
Yeah, that's a very important part about that specific defender. If you lose control over West Main, it's basically lost, because there's so many entry points you find as an attacker from there. So a good read coming out from cowana. This time they already have the down on Keenan. He's finding himself injured, but not out, so could potentially be picked up by his teammate. But I think that was either a grenade or maybe, no, it's not a shock drone, so it must have been a grenade that got rid of the mirror window from underneath. Keenan in the process already being picked up again, but I think it was Benja on the display window holding a similar angle like he did 2 rounds ago, getting the down on one of the players then, and now Keenan finds himself on lower HP, but he has a C4 still.
It's one of the stories of unless you were there, you probably don't entirely know what happens. But here, oh no! The worst possible time for Gorgona to look away there as Sleben's able to take the top off of his head and catch an early kill. The response towards the pressure they put onto Keenan, they sort of thought that they could try and get in, get hot and heavy here onto the library side, but all they've read so far is how to almost kill somebody and get away with it, and how to not get away with it at all. Grizzly starts the work here across the top of the box as they're going to try and get themselves onto the standard approach. They're sort of waiting for some possibility of destruction, and this is sometimes quite a tumultuous wall, so he's got to make sure that he does it slow and steady to fall when it needs to.
Yeah, he's pinging for his teammates to make sure they keep an eye onto those main stairs, not have anyone sneaking up on the main stairs right when you're doing that mavericking. This time, unfortunately, there's a smoke canister right through that wall, so it'll stop them from getting the breach open as easily. So however, a second smoke canister being used by Kendrew, and I don't know why they are using all these grenades, potentially to get rid of some utility on the wall, but there shouldn't be. Maybe a mute jammer, or like the electroplow, of course, but they got rid of it now, and that means that the Hibana should be able to open up the wall. No damage done, however, with those grenades. Humphrey's only taking a little bit of damage though, and Keenan's still on very low HP, but Kendrew pushes out massively and gets the kill onto an Anarchic. I don't think they were aware of this.
No, Kendrew read an idea and an opportunity and made sure that he swung through, pre-fired onto the first, hoping there'd be a little bit more to catch, and there's an easy second. Kendrew can't quite get the third, but still sort of handed one there, as they've been leaning into these firefights so aggressively. Benja bites back over the top of the piano. The only music he's playing is into the head. The defensive secret now as he finds one more, finally stopped. Keenan over the top, but a 1 versus 1. Sloth versus Patbull, 2 players that have importantly stepped up throughout this engagement. Can't quite get the read and the beat on where the player is. Going to go all the way aggressively onto the small box. Just takes a little bit of audio, a little bit of a pre-fire, a little hop of a shield, and Sloth somehow clinches it.
This is a very important part where you do see Sloth coming in, just winning those gunfights. He did see the mirror move, so I think the hip of the mirror right through that closet rotation. Knew where the mirror was and just went for the sneak around. I think the mirror was aware of this too, because she did indeed shift her focus, but well, unfortunately the shield didn't give enough cover there for Secret to win out that round. It should have probably gone their way, looking at how it started out. How there was a smoke pushing out of the breach, getting one of those early picks, a second early pick too, and cowana found themselves on a 2-4 disadvantage. The positive thing to their side was that 2 of those players were on lower HP, 2 of the Secret players, so those were supposedly easier picks, and well, kind of was like a ping pong fest until it came down to a 1v1, and Sloth just won the gunfight there.
Hey Ying, hi. What are you doing? What are you doing here in the hands of the Ashe player in a team that is sometimes quite famous for deciding to throw themselves at a site itself just to see what happens? They might be able to break a little bit of that mantle here. I assume, as per their usual use, they'll hit the site directly with it and see what can come of it rather than try and burn their way through utility. It is a surprise pick, but it might be one that has that little difference maker, because we've also got to look at how Secret have been able to bite. He was hyper-aggressive from Kendrew. He was ready for the breach on the box. He was ready for this position to come through into one where he can try and apply some pressure there, and you know, that round went away from them, but they know that they can take success here, and they got to see if they can try and go for this even split now.
Yeah, so far this has been a close game. It's been 2-2 now, and in the last map we found ourselves in a 2-2. It's a lot of twos in the same sentence, but yeah. It was the other way around, however. It was this time it is Secret to get the first advantage, and last time it was cowana to get the first advantage. This time, however, again they have the early advantage because they get the opening kill onto Kendra. That is huge because that is your smoke player now taken out. We saw Kendra go really big in that last round, pushing out of a reinforcement where neither of the cowana players really saw him coming from. But this time they won't be able to use the smoke canister and will be able to do aggressive pushes like that.
It's not the first time we've seen a Secret player punished within the opening 30 seconds. It's not really the first time that we've seen them get 2, but it's definitely the first that we've had 3 off the board within the opening minute. Backbill at least stems the blood. But he's under an immense amount of pressure. As we said, they might go quick. Look at that, the drone at his feet, giving the call and the read on everything he's doing. He didn't last long, but how are you supposed to? As Sleben is suddenly very quiet, alone and on site, waiting for an approach with all the time in the world. I sort of looked at the Ying and said, cowana might go for something quick here. And they were, I guess, right. But it was all over the map.
Yeah, and the Ying hasn't even used any of her Candelas yet so far. So, yeah, you were expecting maybe an explosive rush, but nothing like that, really. Just a lot of gunpowder coming out from the players of cowana. They were able to pick up 4 players already. And like you said, now Sleben finds himself in that 1v4 situation. They know where he is, though. There's a drone on site, and this gets smoked off. The first Candela be caught in as well, but he wasn't aware of a player in Piano. It was a player outside Piano on that little window, just waiting for him to come rotate towards Piano. A lot of pressure put on his shoulders, and you're not supposed to win your 1v4 situations, but you're not also supposed to find yourself in a 1v4 with 2 minutes remaining.
I think my big question, and it's sort of the only thing that you get a true taste of when you go and watch rounds like that back, or maybe the rounds earlier where Secret have lost a player in that opening 30 seconds, is it them being called out of position? Is it them going for something a bit bold and brash? Or is it just cowana being in the right place at the right time? Because as I said, it's not the first time. It's something that cowana are very good at, is punishing this very, very early game and going for entries where they've just sort of hopped up onto the building and fired through a window to get what seemingly has been pretty much an easy pick every single time. It's this big sort of question, and well, if there's any site where that's not going to happen, this is the site, the rarely seen trip down to the basement.
Yeah, it's our last round anyway, so, I mean, so far it looks like bed and bar were the rooms of the sites that went the best for them, but they now have tried to defend bedroom twice in the last 2 rounds, and it didn't go their way at all. So their last quest to make this a 3-3 split, which would be the most ideal situation for them. Like you said, you're supposed to win about 2 of your defenses here, so
yeah, give or take.
It would not be too bad. Would it be a 2v4? But you did also say Secret needs to have a strong first half.
And that's it. That's what we sort of wanted cemented. They're still hopefully going to have some strength in their attack. But, you know, it was a little bit shaky on Banks. They needed that mental wind, that win, to sort of rewrite how this game could go. And so far, it's cowana that's been stepping up more and more as the game's continued. Sloth found a little bit of his footing, but more importantly, Benja found a lot more of his. And although we're still not seeing this multifaceted approach from cowana, where it's only really a couple of players that are popping off, it was enough on the first map. For a meteoric performance, the more likely they are to keep driving that is the more pressure that it puts onto Secret.
Oh, that's a good drone they have. They have some information of where that Maestro was swinging around the site. He's now able to open up that wall completely. Gets shot in the process though, but that's all to pay for because the wall is now open. They can get the buck in or get anyone else in with some kind of self-destruction to get that wall open, but most preferably the buck. However, he should be careful that no one starts shooting at his direction. And look at that, it's a downstairs defense, but there's quite a few players off Secret on all the other floors. We have Sleben and Gomfrey both on the top floor, even accompanied by Kendrew. So I think cowana is looking for a full-on take of the map, but I hope they're aware of these players on the top floor.
Sloth over the top with a drone that laid them in for getting that first ping. They know there's going to be a pressure over the top there. Takes care of the camera and cements it with another 20 bullets. Gonna see if they can loop and lob some grenades. Hey, who's that hiding in a corner? It's Kendrew, going for those little plays and positions he likes to sometimes pocket. It hasn't always been the most successful for them before, in that, well, it was sort of ineffectual on the previous time on this map, and on the bank it was punished quickly. But if cowana gets a read here which it seems that he might, it suddenly turns into a much worse blow. Is Kenny unaware? Well, now there's no Benja to lock it off.
And Ben just had a solid start to this game, I would say. However, in Banky wasn't really that much there. He's had a solid start here, so taking him out is a very costly factor for the players of cowana. They're now looking to gain some more map control, but there's only 50 more seconds to play with. Sloth, however, finds a grenade kill onto Packbull. It's a Maestro of the board, so a lot of utility gone in the hands of Secret, but still no execute near the site whatsoever. They have the snowmobile wall open, but that is about it. Gorgona down with a kill onto Sleben. 35 seconds left on the clock, and they need to start finding an entry, and they need to be careful for Kendrew too. He's still on the top four. He can run around all he wants. He tries to go back to the side instead.
I like that he threw the impact there, but as soon as he loosed it, he made his way back round onto the rotate onto site. He wants to put some fear into the approach here and force one more player of cowana to have to pay attention elsewhere. Grizzly drives themselves into the site, puts them into the 4 versus 2. A handful of seconds left. They've made it work before, not on Chalet as of yet. They swing themselves round, but it's one important take and one more for the road. cowana put themselves 4-2 on the half, 4 rounds in a row. They've matched what they did before. Can they keep this drive up and have their second 2-0 of the day?
Yeah, that would be huge. I mean, if they really, really want to, they have to win 3 rounds now, and that would mean they have the same score similar to their last map, but now find themselves on the defense. Their defense last time on Bank wasn't that ideal. We're obviously talking now about a new map and new possibilities, and they're taking Bar Gaming Room as their first site, and they're bringing the mirror out again. So I'm hoping to see some mirror windows on that stock wall where you can hold off a lot of control towards the bar jump in, the big window there, and possibly a mirror window upstairs so you can hold on to library a lot longer as well, because similar to what Secret did, that seems to be a really strong position where you want to hold on for as long as possible.
Now, cowana sometimes like to lead in with some of their offsites as the opener to put a little bit of pressure in, but here I think they know that they need to get some of this business done. So they're going to open up here onto Bar instead, which is still, to a lot of teams, a secondary. It's a very strong site with the right holds, and the Aruni Gate extension is one of the ones that sort of became synonymous with the new meta. As Chalet came back in, that game of playing Castle and Aruni and stretching the hold with a couple of Banshees, some Elusi and some Loose Wamai was sort of significant. It was that rise to a new meta. I'm curious to see how much of that extended game gets played here. Huge dedication towards the pillar, as there should be, but as we know, that shield is the crux play, and there is a Twitch drone that might be able to get rid of that, just as we saw one removed before.
Yeah, exactly. Sloth in an important position to make sure he doesn't get his shield zapped away, because if he stays too close to it, he might as well burn his feet. He's got an ADS right there to stop players from the office window to potentially grenade the shield to get Sloth out of his position, but looks like their upstairs hole is a very pivotal one to hold on for as long as possible. However, in the meantime, Kendrew has opened up Snowmobile, and that indicates usually that you might just force yourself up the main stairs to walk straight onto the bar, but usually you wouldn't necessarily do that just by yourself. So he's just going to scout around for some control downstairs, being thrown in by his teammates, but right here is a wall, which you could open up, but well, you have to have a heart-breaching gadget for that, and Kendrew doesn't. Oh, couple those.
There it is, so close, not quite all the way through, and the pings are coming consistently. Sloth, locked in behind the mirror windows, tries to open the Aruni Gate there, but the ping actually came through just a little bit wider, so they weren't able to catch the head of the otherwise sternly watching Gomfi, who hasn't quite been able to connect with this game at all. To be honest, he is, on his day, a huge player, and here it hasn't quite been that effect that they need so desperately. Another approach is that drone's going to see if it can steady its way up across the site itself. Cool. In fact, their own drone, by the looks of it, just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, Gomfi doesn't have a really, really good game so far. And Narkic, maybe not so either, but he was very important on a map like Bank where he just made that difference. Benja now finds the opening kill onto Kendrew. Gorgona taking quite a lot of damage as well, but enough to be finished off. Benja goes for a very aggressive swing on the main door and finds Sleben in the process. So 3 players left on the side of Secret. That isn't looking all too good, especially now that they don't have the Twitch to get rid of shields, and they don't have a bug to create vertical lines of sight. Still holding on to these blue stairs, and library part very carefully, but Wolves found themselves all the way into Mudroom looking to contest that control towards the library stairs.
Oh, that is a heck of a take and a reward there. Swung and pre-fired on Gona, I think, probably still has questions about how he was dropped in that. But look at the loose player on the far side. They're on the corner and the crux towards the dining room. They're ready to swing on any approach that might come through here from Secret. Still upside down, repelling, still trying to find a route through. There is nowhere for Secret to be able to just drive through here. Packball knows they're watched. So it's going to come through from Keenan with a little bit of a split onto the opposite window. There's the hop through. There's the drop down. There's Sloth still above. This is why I talk about how important it is to take a handle on the work you do above, because if it's still standing, so's the round. 5th in a row for cowana. A big uphill for Secret.
Yeah, definitely. They'll have to win a lot of rounds to make sure this goes back towards an even score. They'll have to win 3 rounds, and that's going to be a bit of unfortunate. Hence why they're also calling in a tactical timeout. They want to make sure that this next round doesn't go in the way of cowana, because if it was to be so, they will find themselves on a map and match point. We're talking best of 3, so 2 maps are needed to win out this entire series. Well, cowana is quite close to that.
It's one of those tricky days right now, I think, for Secret, where things just aren't quite connecting. And we've sort of seen them struggle, as we said in the opening best of 3 versus Vitality, but both teams sort of did. Neither of them was quite able to...
There is no longer a line of sight into stock supply, but it's a kind of spread out mission because they were trying to take control over library as well, but that wasn't effective whatsoever. They lost a Twitch quite early, which doesn't really help by not being able to open up mirror windows and everything. And this round, cowana doesn't even go for that mirror. They opted the mirror. Let's expect it for, I think, into the alibi. Obviously, a very nice gun, and you could definitely catch some players off guard with some well-placed alibi prismas.
Okay, cowana, you are 1 round away from that point, and 2 of cementing this showdown of your day of 2-0s. It has been good siege, and they've been able to sort of hit the ground running. And to be fair, when you look at play days like this, where there's multiple best of 3s or multiple games in a day, sometimes the team that's just on form, it's, in the words of Demo, the immortal words, I know I sassed him about sitting on the fence with prediction, but he does say it best when he says it's how you play on the day. It's the game that you bring on the day, and this today has been a great day from cowana. Sure, some of the players haven't quite been able to hit the ground that they often do. Gogona is a name, and Grizzly. But with Benja and with Sloth putting in these 2 fantastic performances in this best of 3 alone, it really just is, it's that moment of cowana going, we just got to keep this up today.
Oh, they're looking to a similar take. We once again find Kendra as the buck. Down to the Snowbee. It looks like we're watching a replay from that last round. They're joining in to make sure that it's all safe. This time he's accompanied by Gomfy, though. They're looking for a very horizontal take right onto the kitchen wall, but you can't really get much of that. If you only get the kitchen wall open, you don't really have any ground towards the side whatsoever. So Sam are taken through bar, and everything seems to be reinforced and electrified all the way towards the bomb site. So getting that wall open will be a task by itself. You have those shock drones where you could potentially find the key electroclaws with, but they will obviously be very well hit too. Gogona, though, finds a top, but no damage yet onto the player of Secret that is crossing, and wants to find a hiding spot right here as one of his walls gets opened up, so he's in a bit more pressure.
While the smokes are doing a bit of work to just distract and make sure nobody gets the swing in. Gogona under a huge slew of pressure, but he's going to actually pull away. The team talk has come through from Secret. They know the approach that they want to make, and it's a lot more direct here. 2 stories of pressure. Over the top and the bottom itself, they're cleaning and clearing away. They're making sure they have an ankle hold that they can sort of tug away at the side on and force it into a more uncomfortable situation. There's still these Aruna gates and holds to get through on the above. You've still got that shield for the swing on the bathroom side. You've still got these players. But if you can just get box clear, if you can just get the back of the dining room table and some clever smokes, you might find yourself suddenly with a modicum of success.
Yeah, 1 minute left in the round, and still all players alive, and no one's really taken any damage so far. So you could say it's a quite slow attack coming out from Secret, but they've also managed to keep all of their attackers alive. And now after shifting their focus a little bit similar to what cowana did in their kitchen attack, see that one of the players was situated outside the west main window. So if you open up with a Gon 6 and just hop in, you might be able to cause a lot of chaos and havoc onto the defense of cowana. Because upstairs there is a lot of information still. Gorgona in a very interesting spot, because if they decide to jump into those west main windows, he might be the first player to stop them from doing so. As Grizzly is still upstairs, being fought by one of the players, a secret, but his shield is still alive.
Grizzly has taken as much pressure, but look at the time. Secret, you got to try and find a way to close this down, and Grizzly is still above. The C4 is the lockdown as Anarchic gets one more, and Sloth doubling it up. It is all suddenly pulled away from Secret. Kendra is the last one left on a second story with a single kill. They are one round away, cowana, of cementing themselves in the final.
Yeah, one more round is what they need to proceed in the upper bracket and find themselves as the first finalist for our big best-of-5 final that we'll have tomorrow. And obviously, they can take some rest after this game as well. One more round is what they need. And, well, last round, we saw Secret take a tactical timeout. Obviously, you don't take a tactical timeout for just one singular round. Probably is to just shift your focus and make sure the entire team, as we like to say in this race, have their noses point the same way. So they at least have all the same thoughts and everyone's just gathered around again. But, well, they need 4 more rounds to potentially go into overtime. And from there on, they need to win the map to even get to that third map and still have a shot towards the upper bracket finals. Or the finals.
The history of games between Secret and cowana, it was a 7-5 in stage 1, a 7-2 in stage 2, a 7-3 in stage 3. Here it looks like it might be another 2 similar results to tack on at this moment in time. cowana sitting pretty on map point, 4 attempts to lock it off, 4 attempts to find themselves cemented, as I said before, in that best-of-5 final. Secret, it means that then not only would they be put down into the lower bracket and play the winner of the next game we have after this tomorrow morning, but they've then got to have a best-of-3 before the best-of-5 tomorrow morning. That is the major downside for a lot of teams. If it's a big, long, stressful game, then suddenly you've got 5 more maps ahead of you. Oh, that's a long day of Siege.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot longer than you initially planned on. For example, this looks like a very spread out roam coming out from cowana, or very spread out hole coming out, because they have the kite downstairs in kitchen, has one of the walls open, and potentially a C4 hole there if anyone tries to take control over lobby, because it seems that the players of Secret keep on trying to take that lobby control. They make sure the downstairs objective is entirely clear so they can take Snowmobile, go on towards lobby. This time they might find a kite in kitchen with a C4 ready to toss over the hole that he made towards the lobby wall. This time Keenan Avery still underneath, finds that yellow ping and goes for the nade. If he can cook that underneath very well, it will actually kill Gorgona. That is huge. That means that the top 4 control around lobby is now gone, and that opens up more opportunities for the players of Secret.
Now, though Keenan hasn't been the biggest fragger across the game, it's always worth looking and citing the fact that a lot of his kills have been big impact kills. He's been able to shift around, he's been able to pull something into a bit of success, and success is what's needed 4 times in a row if Secret want a chance at holding on to the upper bracket and, more importantly, getting their way into the final. Benja is the next under a bit of pressure here as Kendra goes for a slow creep round. They're actually going to see if they can open up the surprise take here onto the bucket box, but no dice. The player is just out of harm's way. Kendrick pulls away before he suffers from above. Sloth's going to just hold the mirror window at a bit of a long arm as it's been opened. Doesn't quite have the result. That drone means that he can't stay there too long. He almost finds Kendrew, but also almost finds a fight as well.
And the electric being tossed at the wall, but will not be in time to stop that Selma from detonating. So that means there is a opening now onto the wall, and they have some opportunity to get into the site from there on. Benja is still downstairs, doesn't have a C4 to play with. A very good gun to initiate a flank with. Most of the players off Secret are around the main stairs and around that double door towards the library hallway. So if he chooses the right destination to go for a flank, it could be huge from downstairs. They are with a man disadvantage, so they need to make sure they hold onto the side a little bit longer. The bulletproof camera gets taken out, and the first smoke is just being popped right at the breach. There's still 2 more in the hands of Anarchic to potentially hold back any of the push that's coming, but the players of cowana are currently just waiting for Secret to take any initiative.
this is the problem with Secret. This is the problem sometimes, is they get a bit slow and things get a little bit dicey. But remember when I said Keenan has that breach, that breakthrough that they often need? Well, there's the second that he's got for this round, the most important round for them to try and find some momentum. But 15 seconds, they're slowly screaming their way up Solarium stairs. There's some pressure onto the site itself, but there's a drop on the backside. They have a defense. Packbull is going to see if he can get the plant, and with the cover coming from Gomfi, they get it. They get one. They still need another 3. They still need to try and replicate all the success they've been able to have this map, just for the hope of being able to get to OT.
Yeah, and cowana just had a 3-site rotation. You mentioned they went to bar, kitchen, and bedroom, and not a lot of teams like to go downstairs to the wine cellar and the snowmobile. Well, the fact that they've just had 3 rounds played under defense means that bar is open again and they can go back to bar. Last time their defense was very much into the top floor, and the mirror window seemed very pivotal for their defense. They were able to keep control over library as well as over the bar jump-in, and that seemed to work out wonders for them. Once again, they're bringing the Goyo with those Vulcan shields, and they'll probably have them around top library and around top of main stairs. And something that really helped for the cowana players last time was that they took care of the Twitch quite quickly. So the Twitch is probably the biggest concern for cowana right now, with all the utility they have is in mirror windows and magnets and Vulcan shields. So slapping off the board as quickly as possible would be really good for cowana.
All right, Secret, 3 more in a row, and you've used timeout, so what are you going to be able to do from here on? The first time you've got success in a long time, cowana are able to string 6 rounds in a row. They almost entirely swept this map after a little bit of a false start. To be fair, the first map was 5 rounds in a row. They're just one-upping themselves at this point. However, they don't need any more of that sort of heroics. They don't need anything more that's a little bit impressive. They just need 1. And they just need 1 over the next 3. To be honest, they still seem more than capable of getting it.
Yeah, exactly. Just the players of cowana still setting up their defense, and 20 seconds into the round. Well, especially with the mirror and the shotguns, there's a lot of soft lines aside that you need to make. You need to set up your mirror windows and everything. The players of Secret, they really need all the time that they have in this round. They're already around these library windows, looking to get rid of some utility there. Well, getting information on this here with that Syria gate will be difficult, so you'll probably have to get some utility to open that Syria gate and actually have an entry onto the side. But once again, you'll find a mirror window looking straight at you with any of the cowana players right behind it. So control over off-phase and towards top main seems to be essential to get rid of that mirror player.
So the mirror is under a little bit of pressure, and oh, okay, Kendra opened more than just a window, found Benja on the backside of it as well. Grizzly suffers next. And it's a bit of a drive here from Secret. They're able to get this early punishment, but to be honest, it's the later bit of the round that are often where they start to struggle. So they still got to keep this pressure up, and Keenan was the break of that last time round. Can they see if they can just cement a second, or at least some pressure onto the site itself? cowana, they still have all of their hold across the top. They know Pillar's going to be the next battleground. They've got to see if they can lock itself in on. They still have that power player up there. They still have the success that they had on the lead-in before, and last time we were here, they survived all the way to the end. This time, Anarchic can't even get past that 2-minute mark.
There's only 3 players on the side of cowana, and one of those mirror windows now gets shot down as well. Sloth finds himself moving down the main stairs, but there's 3 angles right at him, so he's having to pick up that kill all the way from the main door. cowana now is the only one on site, but needs to find a lot of different angles, and a shot drone reveals his position, which should allow that player to start by pushing his position. Grizzly ever gets taken down, so it was a 1v4 situation, I would say, but Packbull's able to pick that kill as a 1v5 even, because it was a flawless round. Secret really aren't in this to lose it. They're securing 1 more round, then they need 2 more to get towards that overtime.
Closer and closer, Secret. Closer and closer. We tiptoe and step and try and find something at the end of this road, but you're not there yet. One mistake, one slip up, and suddenly it's cowana's game and cowana's day. Here, we've seen a better Secret. Okay, it might be a little bit late in the day, but if they can try and find some of this just to cement this last little bit, this bout, then suddenly we're on a third map, and suddenly they're the ones that are holding that precious bout of momentum to carry them through what could be a very aggressive decider between these two teams. Cowana, they just need to connect the dots one more time. But strangely, when you're a team and you're in that mentality, regardless of how the day's been going, this is the toughest round in the world to get. This is the one where those little mistakes where it's we could have won it, we should have won it.
Yeah, and those little mistakes might make you anxious as a player as well, because if you lose one person, the entire attack probably shakes up, but it's also like, oh, we're one more or one step closer to our doom and dropping towards that lower bracket. Like we said, not all is lost if Secret loses here. They find themselves in the lower bracket. They have a lot of more rounds, a lot more maps to play to still get towards that big final, but it's not like we're saying goodbye to them. They
No.
might lose, which is a good thing, so they'll still be able to pick themselves up and give it another attempt.
I think that's the thing about it, is we're also looking at what this does for the team that gets the best of 5 final. As we said, they do not get the free map, as we used to do in Siege. Instead, they get the preference on the bans itself.
I asked for a rehost, but unfortunately it was a nade kill onto Gorgona already, so that will probably not be possible. Gorgona taken out by a grenade. These 4 players left on the side of cowana, and have to defend this longer as Benja gets taken out as well, so 3 players now. Secret having a good sight through this round so far, as the players of cowana are already going back towards his site now. They're gonna hold on to this longer, but this is all to play for Secret. They have all the map control they want to take in their hands. Grizzly is downstairs. He knows there's players every single round that are trying to take some control downstairs. Finds Diana and gets the kill onto Gomfy. That could be a really good thing. They now are aware that Grizzly still is downstairs, but, well, it's gone back up again, so his position is still unknown to the players of Secret.
Sloth's waiting in a position that he's been able to play pretty well before, and to be fair, if there's a map where, or a round even, where he can try and show up to the level he's been doing, this would be the perfect opportunity. All right, an unfortunate opening aside, the way, as you said, it explained, it's not a call to make, and it's just got to be one where you got to play it out and see where you can find the rest of the field, and Sloth, at the minute, is that potential power here. Secret have everything in front of them, all the possibilities of a 4 versus 3. They're getting all the drone, the intel, and every call and beat and read on the players that they can find itself. But it's Sloth that puts the pressure back on, dropped in response and revenge, just holding on, and it's precious time that's being bought, and there's one more for Kendrew. A knife kill to seal the deal in Arctic, all that's left underneath. C4 doesn't quite net the dividends it could have, and they have an angle to watch now over the shield itself. Gonna see if they can find something on the opposite side. Rotates round onto the fireplace, drops the drone, assume they were caught out by the watch of the 2 dead players. But Secret aren't overextending, they're not rushing, they're making sure that when they go for this, they know where he is and they know how they want to take him.
Yeah, they've got 45 seconds left to play, but Anarchic now moving up further towards that position around the library stairs. Gets picked up by Kendra on the other side of this long hallway, though. So we now find ourselves in a 5-6 round count. This means we need one more round for a potential overtime, and that round needs to be won by Secret. Sloth is asking for a pause, probably due to the reconnect that we saw coming out earlier by Gorgona. I think it was his game that crashed and now is back, and oh, it's actually Cowana asking for a timeout. Never mind.
Yeah, I think Sloth...
Yes, of course.
Because they still have this, and to be honest, it's the perfect time to take it.
Yep.
They're still just 1 round away. They don't want to get to OT. They don't want to get into this tricky situation where suddenly they've got to, you know, try and build themselves into having to play an OT, and then potentially losing that, and then having to play this final map, because teams build momentum. We've said this before about Secret. They're a team that definitely builds momentum. They're a team that can take these knocks and then find that little bit extra. Okay, today it was a little bit late, let's be honest. But if this back in bar and back with the same ops as I said, that is the rule book. That is how we play it for one last time. As I said before, you repeat everything from the previous round, and we're going back one slide here because of the unfortunate disconnect. It's zeros across the board, but it's a blank slate with 2 rounds. Can you do that final bit of a distance, Secret, or can Cowana just find the cherry on the top of Mr. Officer's birthday cake?
I think you would very much appreciate a birthday present like that, like Cowana going 4-0 in their maps.
He wants to go to Sweden. That's the birthday gift that
Yes.
the boys of Cowana have put together as a chance at a trip to Sweden.
Yes, that would be a beautiful, beautiful birthday present for sure. But, well, if Cowana really want to get that 4-0 win map score, they need to win this round. And if not this round, then they need to win a round, or maybe 2 rounds in overtime. There's a lot of opportunities still on the board for Cowana. But like you said, closing out that final round could potentially be a difficult one to do. Likewise, again, we see all the players around bar. We see some players on the top floor, like we did see Sloth do last round as well. He has a mirror window, has an ADS, and one of those Vulcan shields to protect his position all the way around the pillar. And players of Secret are once again looking to take control over that library site. They know these players are around top main, and it's a very pivotal position they need to take control of before they can access the site.
Waiting over the top, Sleben, and this was a hold in a position that we've seen the upside down rappel not quite pay the dividends it was before, but before it was Gomfy. And Sleben has definitely had a much better game at getting his teeth into the opponents throughout this, so instead it's a change of pace. Hey, remember just before when I said, are we going to see a slightly different approach? We are. But we're seeing a similarity in the opener. Benja, the first to go once again this time. It was a strike from Sleben. They expected a change up from Cowana, and instead, it is actually the growth that we saw from Secret to punish that early play and player. Now, with this all coming together inside this giant, illustrious fireplace room, they're going to head up to the top and see if they can strike onto that shield. Protected and dropped. There it is. The fire pushes Sloth into a trickier position.
He's now taking about half his HP because of he was feeling close to that shield when the shield was detonated. So he doesn't have that much protection around the top main stairs, and there is a person rappelling upside down outside the office window. That is a really difficult position to contest, especially if Sloth is trying to go for an escape, because there's also players around the main door. This means that Sloth is kind of stuck in this position. It would be really nice for him if you get like 1 pick or maybe 2 picks. So we would even out the score in operator count. 1 minute left on the clock for the Secret players to get some map control. To push on further, they're now looking to take control over the shield on top library. As Darking is also being taken out. At least 3 operators on the site of Cowana.
Well, there it is. Look at this Secret. Suddenly they found an answer to how they can break through on Cowana, and it is fueled by the fire that we said they might be able to pick up from the unfortunate rehost situation before. We lost the round. Well, not for very long. It is their lead-in here. Keenan, one more on the side, leaves just the player that disconnected before that caused the unfortunate situation. But once again, we find everything falling into place for a 6-5. Maybe I needn't cross out the result I had before.
Oh no, you can write it down again. That is so unfortunate.
I know.
Alright. Well, back to E5-6 we are, and it's the exact same point as we were, I think, about maybe 10 minutes ago or something it was, and it still could go both ways. We could have Cowana being victorious after this round with 1 more round on their books and them taking out this series in a 2-0, or we could go to an overtime, and I think from there on it could be anyone's game. Secret does seem to have that momentum that you talked about. They've now won 3 rounds in a row and also managed to get through that big timeout that we just had successfully. So, well, looks like their mental might have a good shot on this too, and players of Cowana might be a little bit more upset about this.
That round was how I sort of expected Secret to play this whole game. That round was the one where I sort of went, this is that Secret on Chalet, this is that multi-pronged approach. This is a team that's so good at finding where people are and punishing them for it. And they did it, and they were able to sort of put that pressure on, and sure, on the defense, they weren't quite able to find that same success. They got the 2 very early on. 1 more, and it would have been level pegging. 1 more connection that was theirs, and it would have been a very different situation. But here, it has been such a triumphant return to force. It's just that ever-hanging, unending question of, was it too little, too late? It's their time to tell us.
There's a Secret looking for a very horizontal take, maybe some vertical coming out from the side of library as well. Go to take care of that shock drone quite quickly. Also on the window downstairs, there's a player of Secret potentially watching him. Covers the sound of his drop by firing a few bullets. So the players of Secret might be less aware of his positioning. Benja now retaking that position all the way on the top floor. playing it a little bit more passive though, as he's outside of the library box, waiting for players a secret to hop into those windows, but it seems like they've shifted their focus just a little bit. It seems like a very horizontal take, as Keenan now finds himself all the way in the bar already. Well, they have to attack kitchen, so getting an entry all the way into that small hallway will probably not be sufficient to get an entry onto the side.
Well, there's an opener that cowana desperately needed. Gorgona is able to get one. Takes care of Keenan and tries to find a slip away, as Gomfi wanted to get a little bit of revenge here. They're going for a slow creep round onto blue, but it's not a way that they can just force themselves through. Gorgona's got himself stacked up. He kind of expects this approach, and it's the drone that's going to go for a bit of a read, but this is where things start to split and divide. There's also a play around on the box side, and there it is. A perfect catch and revenge there by Kendrew. They knew that he hadn't quite found his way all the way through. They just wanted that last idea of where he was. They found it and pieced it together, but there's still the rest of the site. And as we said before, when Secret's at their sort of slowest on these approaches, it is this final minute, so they got to make sure they keep that momentum. The pre-fire around to the corner doesn't quite net the results of the bathroom.
And the wall around this side is still electrified, so they'll still need to deal with that utility on the wall to make sure they can actually get it. The Electroclaw now being pinged for Gomfi. Was able to open up the wall here with one of those Selmas remaining in his pocket. Still has one more, so could potentially make the opening a little bit bigger. But the fact that they've lost Gorgona is quite unfortunate. That means that there isn't necessarily an opportunity for a great flank or anything coming in from the players of cowana. But I do think they still have a player all the way upstairs. And Gomfi seems like he's hungry for that singular player. So however, on that window is going to make it a lot more or a lot easier to enter here. Benja already flown away far. Sits behind this display case where we've seen players before, just waiting on someone to come down on that solar stairs.
It's clever from Benja. They're wasting time. They know this is where Secret start to have this bad moment, and because there's only now 15 seconds that separates them from, well, the lower bracket, they've got to try and make a move. Over the top, Kendrew's going for a quick slip. It's Gomfi that gets the opener. You just got to hit the hatch at this point, 6, and it's a 3 for 3 either side. They're spraying over the backside. It's Sloth with 1. It is only the single player left, Packbull. He holds it down, but it's cowana that have the answer. cowana have the lock off, and it looked a little bit shaky at the end, but they finally found that full stop for a 7-5. And a cemented place in our best of 5 final tomorrow.
Yeah, cowana looking extremely strong so far with a 4-0 in maps to cement themselves through the upper bracket all the way up until the final. So they're our first confirmed finalists for our big